Addictions run in my family, but now recovery does too. I was thrilled to hear these words from a friend 3 years sober from addiction, and I cannot wait to share Stephanie Massey's story with you.
Hey friends, welcome to the Mindset School podcast with Peggy Easterling, where we learn to smile authentically from the inside out. Hi, Stephanie. I am so glad I am here with you today. How are you?
I'm great, Peggy.
Oh my goodness. It's been like 20 years since we connected, and I have learned some things that you've gone through since I've seen you last. So tell the audience today a little nugget about yourself and your family.
So I am a mother of two. I have a 16, almost 17-year-old son and a 7-year-old son. I just moved in with my mom a month ago. She has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so I'm here to help her, which is actually a blessing because she was there for so many years helping me while I struggled with my addiction to alcohol. And so now it's my turn, I guess, full circle, to turn around and take care of her. So I'm today sitting here celebrating 3 years sobriety. So
Wow, 3 years. That's amazing, Stephanie. So take me back. Like, we used to wait tables together at an Italian restaurant in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And man, you were pregnant 16 years ago. That was a minute ago. So take me back to what's your life been like since then? Take me on the journey of where you were at that time, because you always seem to bring so much light to the space that you were in. I knew you had a great heart and you were a great person even back then when I knew you. And I think that probably stayed with you the whole time. But at the same time, I just want to know, what journey have you been on since we were together last?
it's been a bit of a crazy journey. So I quit Zio's when I moved to Louisiana. I was battling with addiction. I think I had always had an addiction problem growing up. I've always struggled with addiction. And so I would go back and forth. Finally, my mom was like, you and Caden, my son, he was probably 4 at the time. We moved to Louisiana to maybe straighten me out to live with my aunt and uncle. And that, didn't work. I wasn't ready, and it took me away from my husband at the time. And so I moved back to Tulsa. I've been through so many rehabs and it just never stuck. Been through so many detoxes from alcohol, and I've had sobriety time. A year and a half was the longest time until today. I can say 3 years and still have no desire to drink. So I finally decided to quit drinking for the absolute last time. My mom had already been diagnosed. I learned that in 2018. She had been diagnosed and I was drinking. I remember being devastated. And then just as the time went on, just one day going, I need to stop. And here we are.
Yeah. So your mom's diagnosis awakened you to where you were in life and some things you needed to change?
It did. I always knew I needed to change. I did not enjoy being an alcoholic. It was very humiliating, very just a hopeless life. It just to feel that hopelessness and not knowing what to do about it. But yeah, about 6 months, I continued to drink. And then just one day I was like, I'm getting older. I'm about to be 40. I've got to stop. I took myself to a detox center and just said, I'm doing this for myself, for my children. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. Everyone, they always say sobriety, you have to do it for yourself or it will not work. You have to do it for yourself. And I didn't like myself. It was so hard because I just didn't care about myself. And so I went in there deciding to do it for all the people that I've disappointed. And
so When you were talking, you made it seem like you were an alcoholic, even when you were working at Zio's, that you were struggling with that. Were you hiding and not allowing other people to know and kind of being phony and hiding that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And my husband, Michael, and I at the time, we were really, really good, but then we both dealt with addiction problems and it just was very toxic after that. Very toxic.
Yeah. So I speak to audiences about authenticity and allowing authenticity to come. And I call it the basement of your heart. And so, what did that phony look like though before you found that authenticity? How did it feel to put that mask up and on every single day?
I think I just got so used to it. I didn't know any
Okay.
different. And I needed to hide my addiction because I was so embarrassed of it. And so, yeah, I just hid it. And I now coming out and being who I am is helping me to become the person I am today and being honest who I am.
Yeah. So, tell me what it was like being a mother and attending to the needs of others in the midst of addiction.
Very difficult because my motherly instincts, I want to put them first always, but my addiction would come first. I would drink and I had withdrawals, shakes when I would wake up, very, very shaky until I drank. So I would have to drink first and then be able to take care of them. It just, I was drinking because I thought I was running away from my problem, my demons, I guess, inside. And to just imagine my children growing up without me makes me sad because I don't know. I think I'm a pretty good mom now, and they need me in their life. So they say that sobriety is so much like harder, but it's really not. It's so wonderful. I just can't imagine like me living that life again and how I did it. I don't even know, but
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine and look back and see that that was even possible for you to do those things and function in that way.
Right.
Wow. So while you were in rehab and when you went prior to it, really you checking yourself in and having the success, when you went the other times, when you were there, were you getting something from it? Were you feeling like, okay, this is the time?
So the first time I went, my mom kind of forced me, and it was like a 30-day rehab place, expensive. We went, and it was my first time in rehab, first time ever in any kind of recovery situation. And I did learn a lot. But when I went in, I thought, okay, I'm going to be fixed. I honestly thought it was going to be like that. And coming out, it was a hard truth that it's not that easy. You work at it every single day. And so I relapsed very quickly after rehab on that one. And then a few other times, I did go back to Valley Hope, the 30-day rehab, for a second time in 2017 and stayed there and stayed sober for a year and a half. I moved into a sober living house, which actually really helped me with women, just keep you accountable, and
Mhm.
lived there for a year. And I was always so against that. But I did it and it kept me sober. And then I moved out and moved in with a guy from Oxford, from one of the men's sobriety houses. And we relapsed shortly after that, maybe 6 months after that. And
Mhm.
I was like, I think that last relapse, I was like, nothing changes. You go right back to where you stopped. And I tried to drink moderately. No, I just can't do that. So,
You're talking about that community that you had in that house with the other women. Tell me about that. I'm creating an online space and a community for women. And I know that the power in community of people who are in the same space working toward the same goal. You empower each other, you lift each other up on your hard days, you support each other. And so tell me what that meant to you in your sobriety.
so when I first moved in, I was very nervous. I like have social anxiety, and then moving in with a house with these women I don't know, and very nervous. You share a room, but the friendships that you just grow, you guys were all going through the same thing. They do make you go to meetings, like 3 meetings a week. And so we'd all go together, carpool together. And it was like a little family, honestly
Mhm.
was. I would suggest that to anybody. It changed the way I looked at sobriety, definitely.
Having that support system. I think that's important in every stage of life. Right now, I host a home Bible study, and we're doing a study called Find Your People by Jeannie Allen. It's a great study. And the things that she talks about is the power in proximity, just being in the same place with someone. It makes you connect with someone on another level. And so when you make intentional investment of time to be in proximity with someone and make community, you can support each other on another level just because you spent time with each other to connect and been intentional about that. Have there been other times in your life where you've had that kind of community, that kind of support?
Yeah, even the AA community, you get to like going to meetings and stuff. But the Oxford, that's what it was. The sobriety sober living house I lived in was Oxford House. And they have so many around Tulsa and around actually all over the world. We just had so many get togethers. It's just a very big, like great community. And then AA is also a really good recovery
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. When I did my internship for my undergraduate, I was in the space of a 12-step recovery program. It was through my church, and people were there from anything from I have pride in my life and I want to overcome to people with severe addictions. And what I know
Right.
is that in God's eyes, neither one is any worse than the other. Just because the thing that's hanging you up is
Mhm.
alcohol doesn't make you a worse person, but there is a lot of social shame around it. What did the social shame, how did that piece affect your life?
Absolutely. The shame that just comes with people just judging because I had children. How could I do this? How could I'm pathetic? I'm a horrible mom. That kind of that stuff actually still like I hear it sometimes, and I know I'm doing my best, but people look down on you, definitely. And that's why I wasn't so sure, about like putting my sobriety date and stuff on Facebook because I've relapsed so many times. And I'm like, maybe it's embarrassing, but then I turn around, I'm like, no, but I should be proud of where I am today. So
Absolutely.
I've been called pathetic because I can't get my life together. Yes. And it makes you feel worse and it makes you want to drink more because that's honestly what you're drinking to like not feel, get rid of those feelings. And the people who are alcoholics or addicts, they don't feel great about themselves. They feel worthless. They feel like nothing. And you telling them that they're nothing is just adding
Yeah.
on to it. So
Your addiction was to go to alcohol. My addiction, Stephanie, was to hide behind a mask and self-protect myself and isolate myself from the world. And what I've learned about psychology is you map out a path in your brain. That's why you were so quickly able to go right back to it, because there's neuro pathways that when something triggers something to you, you go there. That is what's mapped out. Imagine a trail that a dog's walked on. And over
right.
time, it just gets deeper and deeper. And that pathway's there. But the cool thing they've learned about science is neuroplasticity is real, and you can rewire your brain. New pathway can occur. Your neurons have 10,000 options and directions to go when it's created, and you can map out a path. But the thing that makes you map out that path is taking action. Nothing else. You've got to take action, because you can sit and think, I'm going to do this. I have to do this. I need to do something different. And it doesn't change your life as much as you desire it. But once you started taking action, how did your life change?
It honestly, everything just seemed to fit into place. When I first got out, it was only like a 3-day detox. I was like, all I need is detox. I got out and I was actually still living with the guy from Oxford House. And he was, I don't think he was drinking at the time, but I found a new weighed myself. I remember coming home from the detox and I was like, okay, let's go to a meeting. Let's go do something. He was like, no. So I was like, okay. And I don't do stuff by myself, but I was like, I'm going to go to the dog park with my dog. And so I enjoyed that fresh air outside, and I have more confidence. I feel stronger about myself, more independent. I don't think I've ever been like by myself. I've always had a guy. I got married at 20 years old. So I've always been with someone. And this is my first time that I'm like, I am done. I want to be single, find myself, like my true self. And so it's just the beginning of my journey. And I'm so excited for it.
That true self, she's pretty great.
She is.
Yeah.
She is.
You know, I hated myself inside, and for so long on the outside, I would just put this mask up and show everyone that everything's okay. But I just really inside, I genuinely did not like myself, and so much shame in my life from things that had occurred in my past. And I just didn't let myself overcome it. And I didn't realize that the reins were in my hand, the steering wheel to drive the car in the direction that it needed to go all along. It was in my hands. It was in no one else's hands. And it's like you're saying, all I had to do was make a decision for myself and honor your decision to yourself. And it sounds so simple to say, but you have to grab it and decide, I'm going this way. I'm not going that way that neuro pathway is. I know it. It's familiar. It's going to come back in my mind, but I'm going this way. And then tomorrow I'm going this way. And the next day I'm going this way. And the next day, oh, it's a hard day. I have to get help so that I can go this way. What kind of help do you have in your life to support you and surround you today?
I have friends that really support. I also have my oldest kid. They are actually extremely supportive. My oldest has been through a lot with me and his dad. And so he's very aware of addiction, and he supports me completely. I will never forget one day. I was probably 6 months sober, and I had gone to a birthday party with a friend, and it was actually my roommate from the Oxford house. He had relapsed, and we walked into the house together, and Kanan, my oldest son, noticed that Morgan, the guy, had been drinking. And he looks at me, he's like, Mom, did you drink? And I said, no. And he grabbed me and pulled me to him, which he's not a hugger, and just held me. And I will never forget that feeling. I will never forget it. And so that right there keeps me going. I fight now for myself, but so I can be that for my children. Just to know like how much, I don't know. It was just the way he held me. I won't ever forget. So,
yeah, I think sometimes God gives us those moments that you can't put into words, that just, you have to be there and living in it, that it does something in our souls. It really does. Stephanie, is faith part of your journey? And what does that look like for you?
It is. I do pray. I definitely believe in higher power. I try to be grateful for everything that I have, because if I was continuing down that same path, I wouldn't have anything that I have now. I wouldn't have my children in my lives. I wouldn't have anything. And so I stay grateful. And I'm here today. Thank God. So,
and I'm going to ask you a vulnerable question. Do you have fear of the future with your mom's, since where she's at right now? Do you have concerns about if that takes a turn, how it'll affect your sobriety?
I think because I have accepted that it's going to get worse. It's a horrible, horrible disease that there's no outcome. There's no cure for yet. And so it's going to get worse. I would be useless to her if I just drank once. That's actually how I relapsed the last time. I was a year and a half sober, and Morgan I was with, he was like, should we just drink once? And I was like, oh, well, I have to change my sobriety date. I was honestly going to keep it alive, like just try to drink one day and never tell anybody. And of course that didn't work. It just triggered immediately. And I was full blown drinking every day again. Within a week, it was crazy. So when that thought, any kind of thought of just, if I have a bad day with my mom, just drink once. No, I have to play that tape all the way through and know exactly where it's going to lead me. So no.
So what advice do you have for other women that are struggling?
You can do it at any time. I relapsed so many times and felt so hopeless and that I wasn't worth recovery. You start to feel that because you just keep on dropping the ball. It's embarrassing. But if once you just make that decision and continue making that decision every single day, it makes it so much easier. And the little things in life that would used to make me go crazy and be like, I need a drink, I can handle them now, and kind of laugh about things. Like and you fake it till you make it. Like put on some music and dance and I don't know. That's what I do some days when it's hard. I just fake it and I make it through.
So. I don't even consider that faking it. I think that is making it. It's make it till you make it, right?
I like that. You're right. I'm making myself. Yes.
You're making good memories. Again, that neural pathway is still there, right? The old one. And for me, it is. I don't know about you. So my neural pathway is still there. So I've got to make it while I make it. I've got to make intense to do things that are fun. I've got to be intentional to spend time in community and surround myself with people that support me. And also I'm supporting other people. In AA, they have you be a mentor and support other people. Have you ever done that? Have you ever been support for someone else?
I have not. And someone asked me why I'm doing this podcast today. And I was like, well, they say give it away or you're going to lose it. And I've never sponsored anyone. Honestly, I don't have a sponsor. I know that's horrible to say. And so I honestly don't have one. That's not good advice, but I have never sponsored anyone either. But I mean, I'm slowly, I don't know. I want to make myself completely good before I sponsor.
Challenge you, Stephanie. You're second guessing yourself as you say it. What do we say? Let's push rewind. What do we say was the way to remap our neuro pathway? Taking action. That road's not going to be paved. That dog's not walking down that trail because you're like, I've got to do before I could offer anything, right?
Right.
But you had enough to offer yourself, and you realized the value in yourself was always there. You just had to make the decision. So I'm going to challenge you, and you're doing it today, but I want to challenge you to keep doing it, to keep throwing the rope down the hole and letting someone else get out because they need you. Other people need your story. Other people need to hear your voice, and other people need your support. And when you start doing that, you'll be so far down the road so much faster than you can possibly realize. You don't need anything else to help other people, Stephanie. You can help them right now because you know what people need in order to get out.
Right.
And what else do they need?
You need just to know that you're worth it. You are worth it. Maybe you don't feel that way right now, but you are. Someone in your life needs you back and wants you back, and you need yourself back. And it's such a hard journey. And to finally make that decision, you finally do it, when I relapsed, and just playing that tape through and knowing exactly where I will be. I guess that's keeping me sober. To make the first step and just even the days you're like, I don't think I can do this. I remember, I think I was maybe a couple weeks into my sobriety, and I was with a friend, and he was like, stop me at the liquor store. And I'm like, okay. And I was just letting him drink in front of me. And that is something I would absolutely not. I mean, people can drink in front of me. I will not stop them at the liquor store and have them drink in my car and stuff anymore. I remember being tempted, like, to almost just grab it, like, for that split second. And that could have changed my entire life. I could not be here right now talking to you if I had just made that one mistake. And so it's so easy, split second, just to make it. If you do make that mistake, get back up and try it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And your why are you doing what you're doing to be better? My why is I want to help other people now. My why
Right.
is I want to help other people know that that junk that they keep bottled inside, they don't have to keep bottled inside. They can release that, and that pressure can be released, that tension. They can overcome their past traumas and not have to let them hold them captive anymore. And it seems that your why is your family. And
It is.
and that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
It is. They deserve me. They definitely deserve me. And um, yeah, because that's what I wanted to be as a mom. To think that I was just destroying it by my actions and change my actions around and know like how precious I am to them, even how much they need me, but I need them too. I love my boys. They're crazy. And my mom helps me just because of all the times that she was there. She has put up with so much like heartache and I'm sure stress. And it makes me sad to think that I put that all on her, but all I can do now is be there for her and repay her by taking care of her now. So,
Yeah. But part of the process that I know, just hearing how wonderful your mom was for you, she's going to want you to let that go and not think that you have to pay her back. She wants you to love and have compassion and for that past Stephanie, that Stephanie that in the past that was things that isn't the thing that she even wanted to do, but to forgive her and have compassion for her and to just she's in the past. It's not who you
right.
are anymore. Your mom doesn't expect anything from you today, except that she wants you to live your very best life. And so that's part of the process is forgiving that person in the past, right? How did that look for you? Like looking at past Stephanie, did you ever have a point where you thought about it that way?
It's very hard to forgive yourself for
Mhm.
things that you have done. That's one thing that helped me continue to drink was my guilt of everything. So yes, I have let go of a lot of the guilt because it gets me nowhere. It will lead me back to drinking. So I have to let it go and be the best version of myself today. And I just try to become better every single day. My New Year's resolution was to really get control of my mental health. And so I'm really going to try to dive into that because now I'm like sober. I have clarity. I think, yeah, I'm just beginning. So,
Yeah. I think that the things that we allow space in our brain, our thoughts, is what drives us in the direction that we go in life. And so we have to be intentional in what we allow to stay in that space. So I talk about a thought and how you have to take it. The Bible says to take your thoughts captive. And so if you take every thought captive, it's like you've got it in your hands, right? So if you have a thought that's negative, like, I can't believe that I did that in the past, right? And you think about that. Now, if you ruminate on that thought, it's not going to get you to a positive result because you're ruminating on something that's not going to take you in a direction that's going to lead you where you want to go. And so, taking every thought captive and not letting it have space in your head is so important to put thoughts in your mind that lead you in the right direction. What are the thoughts that help you stay moving in that direction?
I try to just say things I'm grateful for. Even if I'm having a really bad day, I'm grateful I have a car. Okay, I had a flat tire the other day and I was like, oh my goodness. And I took it to my tire shop, which before I never would have a tire shop. I'm now a responsible adult again. And so I have a tire shop and I had insurance on the tires. I'm like, whoa, what is going on? And it could have been such a bad day and I wouldn't have had money to pay for the tire. I was just like, this is what sobriety gives me. And it was joy. I don't know. It's just little things that I can be very, very grateful for.
That's awesome. So, just the little things that we take for granted on the daily basis, focusing on those things just helps you move forward in your sobriety. I hope that this helps so many women who struggle, whatever their addiction is, because addiction comes in all forms. With the church 12 step that I went through, I sat in the circle. And when I entered that space, my pastor's like, go try this, go try our 12-step program and see if that internship would be a good space for you. Right. So I get in there the first day and they tell me like what we're going to do. And when they told me about that, I was like, oh, well, if this is what we're going to do, I've got to do this for me. Like, I can't not do this for me because if I sit in this space in a circle and we take turns, this is going to seep out. Like, my junk is going to show. And so I had to go back to the pastor and I had to say, do I have permission to sit and heal that junk that I know still in the basement of my own heart? And he said, yes. He's like, as a counselor, so many counselors don't do that work and they speak into others' lives and they
Right.
haven't healed the depth of their own hearts, and they're speaking from that space of that their own junk rather than having that freedom there and unpacking all of that. But it's not a one-time thing, it's a process. And sitting in that circle and listen to everyone else's stories, you you don't respond, you just listen to hear their story and give them space. How amazing is it to hear someone else's story? And did you listen and heal from hearing someone else? Did that empower you just listening?
It does. There are speaker meetings sometimes, and people will tell their story. In the rehab at Valley Hope that I went to, they make you, after a week, tell your story in front of everybody. And that's so nerve wracking and stuff. But once it's over, it's like, you feel free. Yeah, I love hearing people's stories. That's it. Always puts me back to where I was in when their dark place, and so I relate to it a lot.
Easy to forget where we've came so far. Like you're sitting here today, unless you're intentional about being grateful, like that tire could have ruined your day, right? But you
Yes,
use that
absolutely.
moment for gratefulness and you use that moment to be thankful for how far you've come. But it really is easy to not focus on how far you've come and to have a day and just not realize, even though today I may still have a struggle, look at how much space is between where I was and where I am now. Looking back, when you reflect on where you've been to where you are now, are you tempted to just not on a daily basis? Do you have to be intentional to realize that space?
Right. I do have to be intentional because my mind can still go right back to my alcoholic mind comes back. And even if it's not saying let's drink, it puts negative thoughts in my mind. So yeah, like I have to stop even the negative thoughts because they will build and then maybe build so big they'll make me want to drink. And so try to cut off the negative thoughts. I really do. I try to be positive and like how people don't want to hear that. Oh, just be positive. It really helps me. It does. Try to
Yeah.
put a smile on my face and be happy.
But there's a difference. So the thing that I struggle with was being phony, right? So
Right.
I had a thing like that I felt like people had me trying to measure up to this toxic positivity. That's a real thing. Like pretend nothing is going on wrong and just be positive. Well, I couldn't pretend like that I didn't have a challenge, right? I couldn't pretend that the challenge didn't exist. And I had to give space and process the fact that challenge existed for me in order to be able to heal. It left a mask over my face. And so, even what Christianity told me to say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I didn't believe I could do all things because I was in a space that I didn't have the things just in life in order to survive. It was almost like I had to deny the truth of the physical realm in order to believe what the spiritual realm they were saying to me. And so I had to go like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens. I don't believe that. I believe that God said that about me, and I can pull my thoughts up to that and adjust my thoughts. And so when I had pushed back on my brain, I had to just adjust myself to believe, what do I believe? And then I couldn't bring myself to positivity that my brain gave pushback in a severe way without making a space. It's called cognitive dissonance, like that space between when your brain's trying to decide between two things. So, what I had to do is I had to make a bridge in the middle. And so I would say, okay, I can't believe today that I'm going to do this, but I can believe that I'm going to take this one baby step in the right direction.
Right. Sobriety, they say one day at a time. And or 1 minute at a time. My brain would just obsess over alcohol. And I just had to retrain it and just tell it no and replay that tape all the way through. And sometimes thoughts creep into my mind even today. Yeah. And I still have to just shut it down. There's a liquor store by my mom's house that I used to always go to, and I drive by and I see it, and it's just weird now that liquor stores are open 7 days a week, and and little liquor bottles are all over the gas station now. It's just times are changing, but I think my alcoholic brain for 1 second will go, oh, it's right there. You don't even have to go to a liquor store, but I have to play that tape all the way through. And so sometimes I do still have little thoughts. They do creep in, but you just got to shut them down.
They're just lies that our brain are offering us. It wraps it up in a pretty bow and says, here's this thought. And it's a lie. It's a lie because you're right. Playing that out to the end, the path that it's leading is destruction. So that thought is driving your car, and you've got to take that thought and get rid of it and let another one drive the car and be in charge of getting you where you want to go. You're doing so good. I love this.
Thank you. I remember during COVID, I was brand new in my sobriety. I had gotten sober January of 2020, and COVID happened about in March. We got sent home from work and everything. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, this could be the time. But I had to immediately say no. But everyone wearing masks, I'm like, no one could smell my alcohol breath. I mean, it's just little things. That is so ridiculous. Yeah, just a little thing. You have to shut them down.
So is there anything else that you would like to share with anyone who's struggling with their sobriety?
Just don't be so hard on yourself. You can do it. You just have to make that decision to do it and to continue doing it every day. But just don't believe what your brain is telling you. You are being probably the hardest person on yourself. So yeah.
That's great advice.
I mean, you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great advice. Stephanie, thank you for letting us listen in on your story today. It has been a pleasure, and I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this amazing overcoming story and you want to hear more overcoming stories from the Mindset School podcast, comment, like, subscribe, and most importantly, share with someone else that could use an overcoming story of encouragement. Hey friends, thank you for listening. You're now done with step 1 of growing together at the Mindset School. Head over to themindsetschool.net and grab my free download where I share 5 tips when you can't hold it together anymore and continue your journey to smiling authentically from the inside out.